Welcome to my designer class. My name is Mercy and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be continuing my Santa's Helper series, and this is part 5. So please check out the other ones I have posted on YouTube. Anyhow, I really think this is an adorable tag I made, and I used a lot of little goodies, some from like the Dollar Tree and some things that I got like at BJ's. Anyhow, so it has a front and a back, so you can put to and from, and I also have it, the hand stamped and the stamp that says Stamp It Up, the trademark. Okay, so to get started with this, I will bring out my crumb cake cardstock and stamp the little bird. So I will set this aside, and while I'm setting myself up, you can take a look at some of what went into this tag. Okay. So bringing out my scrap of cardstock, I will just go ahead stamp with my Memento ink. I do like using the Memento, especially when I'm going to be using the blends, which I will be today. So just ink it up, and if it looks pretty good, I think that one actually does now. And I'm just stamping right down. So that's pretty much all with that. It's pretty straightforward. But there are a lot of exciting parts about this card, I think. I used a ton of punches, so I hope that doesn't overwhelm you. I'm sure some of them you could probably do without, especially like the banner punch. And I just cut it out with my snips, but I will start actually by using my blends. So I'm bringing in the 2 blends for the cherry cobbler, the combo, and the light crumb cake. So I always like starting with the lightest of the 2 colors I'm going to be working with. And for this one, I just color in and try not to get the little white area of the bird's eye, which I just did, but you can see how I did this, a basic idea. So I just colored in the wings, the tail, the feathers, all that part. And I did go back in then and add a little bit of the crumb cake. So I'll show that real quick, what I did with the crumb cake. So with the crumb cake, I just touched up here on these, and I am doing tone on tone in this case, but you can see how it definitely highlights it. You can get away with coloring on crumb cake. There is a little bit of distortion, but for this card, I don't feel like it's a big amount. And it's, I think it's just nice sometimes just to use some of the cardstock color that you actually want to use. So I hope you, think about that and see that it does actually work sometimes to use a colored cardstock. Now this isn't a heavy colored cardstock, but, as the case is, it definitely has color. All right, so to stamp the to and from, I went ahead and punched it out first. Everyone always says to stamp then punch, which is usually the case, especially if you're using the traditional red rubber. Excuse me, but with these photopolymer sets, you can really get away with actually stamping after you have your die cut or punch. So I think that's really cool, and sometimes it's really useful, especially if you're doing some prep beforehand. Okay, so I am using crumb cake, and sorry, you're going to see my head, and I just want to do to and from. That's pretty simple. I'll close this up, set that aside, and I did do some of the punching. I used a ton of punches, so it was kind of crazy. I'll go ahead and do the sentiment real quick, and then we'll start pulling this card together soon. There are a lot of little elements, but it's actually a fun, fairly easy card to do. I already used my banner punch for this, and I will go ahead and see how that looks. That turned out pretty well. I think that's all I need for the cherry cobbler. It would have been smart to do that right away together. Okay, so there I have 2 of the pieces. These are my instructions. I'm going to set these aside just so they're out of my way and it's not so distracting. Okay, so for the tag, I have a piece of cardstock here that's 2 by 4 1/4. And you line it up, just slide it in, and I don't know if you can see it, but there are these like little brackets. Don't overlap that because you don't want it to catch, but you want it to get pretty close. So there we go. It's as simple as that. So setting that aside, I will bring in the DSP, which I've already gone ahead and punched, but I do want to kind of put it back in and show you a little bit. One of the tricks that when you're lining it up, look at these 2 little brackets, because you are just basically having this free floating because we're having a little bit of a border. So you have to be a little bit more careful. So I just wanted to point out that tip that I actually saw on someone else's YouTube video. So I'm not sure, I can't remember who it was, but you know, it's definitely helpful. So here's my basic tag, and I will go ahead and adhere it real quick. And we do have a little bit of, ooh, this has a yucky end. Ooh, I'd hate that when that happens. Anyway, this is my wet glue, the Tombow, which I really like using for stuff like this. I'm actually using it almost exclusively now because it is cheaper to use than like your snail, and it holds it really, really well. Plus you have that little wiggle room opportunity, which I definitely need in this case. And this one, you know, you just kind of have to line it up. It's not going to be 100% perfect because I was kind of punching this out freeform in a way, in a sense. Well, it's not exactly freeform, but you know what I'm saying. It wasn't exactly straightforward because it doesn't come to the full width. You could just cover the whole thing, but I don't like that idea. Just as a backing, but you know, what's the fun of that? All right, so I am going to bring in my pretty label. And again, with this, I did go ahead and punch it first, and then I stamped on my label. So I have a little bit of my little leaf here. I'm gonna bring in my embossing buddy. Definitely want to use that. And my Versamark. I know. With this, I kind of like to center the little ball in the center of the flower. Just something to think about. So, and you'll see why later, because I add that little rhinestone. It kind of looks nice when it's centered. At least that's what I think. So bringing in my silver embossing powder, I will quickly, I hope I didn't touch that leaf. I don't think I did, but I was not being super careful for that little bit. Anyhow, okay, so just, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to get this back in my container, and I'm going to turn on my heat gun. So I'm sorry about all the racket. And while that's heating, I will quickly go ahead and adhere this to and from to my silver foil. Whew. Almost had a little boo-boo there. Okay, haste makes waste. Isn't that what they say? Okay, so just center this up. Again, with the wet glue, it makes it pretty easy to do. All right, this should be hot enough. And I'm gonna try to do it so you can see it come up and not my heat gun. So yeah, now it's coming up. So that's it for the embossing that I'll actually show. Now I did do one other leaf, but I won't show that right now. So I'll go ahead and adhere this now to our tag. I think this is fun to have it layered up, the to and from. Okay, here we go. And again, you just want to center it. I think that's pretty good. I'm satisfied anyhow. Which is sometimes hard to get me completely happy with everything, because I did have one extra tag in case I really made a mess of this. You gotta have backup plans sometimes, you know. Okay, so bringing in the front, we are going to do a quick dry layout. I do recommend sometimes doing this just so you kind of know where you want things. I went ahead and added this Glimmer paper first. So, and this is just really a fun tag to do, I think. And I am excited, you know, to come up with this design for this tag. I love the Feathers and Frost set, which is what most of these stamps are from. I did use a little bit from Peaceful Noel, so it make a difference for stamping, you know, where this is from. Oh, I did use a dimensional on the other one. Oh darn. Oh well. If you want to use dimensionals on the back of your main focal image, that would be probably a good thing. I did go ahead and add this leaf first, so you can just put the leaf on and kind of try not to stick it down too hard so you can adjust it a little bit, because you kind of want the bird to have it look like it's holding it in its excuse me, in its mouth, if that makes sense. So there. Isn't that cute? I think it's adorable. Now, because I didn't do this, I'm going to pop up this. So there we have it. We have to, you know, pop up something, right? We can't just not pop up anything. So, ooh, brand new dimensionals. That's always exciting. I don't know. Well, maybe I could. Actually, I could probably fit a whole one on. So here we go. Yeah, it definitely fit 2 whole ones. Okay. I took advantage when they had the International Card Making Day week and did stock up on some of my dimensionals because they are very useful and I use them for so much. So that is the front, and now we're going to flip it over and do the back. I will go ahead and stamp my little sentiment here that says hand stamped by, which I want to try doing this more often. I have to admit, I sometimes don't do this and I want to do it more. So there we have that. I'll set this aside now and we'll just center this, and we'll conclude this adorable tag on making that, and then I'll show you a little bit about what I put in it and bring the sample back in. Okay, so here we just had to line this up, and that's it for that part. I did bring in some baker's twine, and this is part of the farmhouse baker's twine. They had like 3 Mossy Meadow garden, no, they didn't have garden green, I'm sorry. They had Mossy Meadow, what is that one called? Very Vanilla. And of course this cherry cobbler, which is what I'm using because we have a lot of cherry cobbler in this tag. So I just do a little, I guess this is an 8 knot. I don't know what they're totally called, but I want it about like 1 inch or a little over 1 inch. So that is the tag, and next I'll show you a little bit about what I used to stuff it. I used these cellophane bags. These are, I think they're like $5.50. They're in the annual catalog. Anyone can order them. So next step, I have some of this shred, and this one has, sorry about all the rustling. This one has red, and it's a very similar color actually to the cherry cobbler. I got this at the Dollar Tree. So I just fill in, you know, some of this. Just add, I don't know how much, whatever you feel like. I guess that's what you would do anyway, right? What you feel like. Okay, and then I added a couple things. These are my stuff that I did not get at the Dollar Tree, but I got these bath bombs, 3 in a packet they come, and I did put it in a little baggie. I wrote down what it was, the color, and put it in, but I'm not going to go ahead and write that down right now. I'm not going to take the time, but I just want you to see, oh, these open hard. These are jewelry bags, so a little bit smaller one would probably be better. The reason why I want to put it in here, number 1, I want to say what it is. Number 2, it's a very, very strong scent, and I don't want it to saturate the candy and the tea bag, the smell. So I have these little peppermint flavored candy puffs. I think these are wonderful. I ate quite a few, unfortunately, but I would, you know, so you can add whatever you want, obviously, here. So I'll just start filling my bag, and then I will make some adjustments. Now the tea bag I kind of put on the back is a kind of a stabilizing. And here, this is, you're going to definitely have to fiddle with it, okay? Just had to warn you about that, because it isn't going to just pop together real easily. Now, I did remember one thing I forgot, which is the rhinestone. There's always something to forget, right? So I am using these red rhinestones, and I just thought, wouldn't it be adorable if this will cooperate? That would help. There, it's on my finger. I don't recommend that, but if it was in the center and that became the berry, and I think that really kind of just sets it off really nicely. So don't forget to do that part. Okay, so I've got white baker's twine here. This is from the annual catalog. It's thinner than this, but I don't feel like it's a problem. I just wanted to point that out. It is thinner. I do love that other, so. And then I'm just gonna cut off some so it's not so crazy here. Just tie up your bow. I did try like just tying it loosely like this and cinching it up, and that did not work very well. So you have to kind of cinch it up yourself, then come in and tie your bow, and this never goes well on camera. I just had to say that. So when you try to cinch it up like this, it's a little bit ugly, but this will just kind of give you an idea, and I'll show you the one I fiddled with. Okay, so, so much for that. But there is the tag. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you would like to order any of the supplies, please go to Stamp It Up, and I will give you a hostess code to enter. Also, my email is mewants3@gmail.com. So take a look at that. I'll go ahead and bring in my original since I couldn't quite get that tied up. And you can see how cute it is. So this is the tag I'm going to take this off. The tag we just made, and I popped up the sentiment in this case. And in this case, I popped up the focal image, and you can decide which one you'd like better. And if you want to comment in the comments below, let me know which one you liked better. I will go ahead and bring my directions back in one more time, just in case you wanted to know what supplies I used, etc. So thanks again for watching, and have a fabulous day.